number of activities on the front. The health minister has been moving. There's been conversations and calls by different health associations. The Ghana Medical Association have as well condemned the action. GOPSA. Yesterday, the health minister as well addressed a news conference, and the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association as well. They've issued a press statement in relation to that as well. This morning, thankfully, we've been joined by Dr. David Tinkran, who's the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. We're going to start off the conversation with him. Doc, I appreciate you joining us this morning. Good morning. I hope that you're well.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning to our listeners. I'm doing very well by the grace of God.
Fantastic, Doc. I'll just plead of you to hold the line for me just briefly, trying to put a bit more nuance and balance to this conversation. Yesterday, the health minister addressed a news conference on a number of these matters, one of which was that press release you had issued earlier, issuing that 48-hour ultimatum. We're just going to hear from the minister, and then I'll come to you so that we can begin the conversation 48 hours on whether or not you, the nurses, are satisfied with the course of action as taken.
I sent the delegation
very well
to Red Hospital to ascertain the situation. When the delegation came up upon debriefing, I realized that I had to follow up. And ladies and gentlemen, I sent the delegation to Red Hospital to ascertain the situation. When the delegation came up upon debriefing, I realized that I had to follow up. And ladies and gentlemen, let me state this, that I have the health workers of this country at heart. And so any attempt by any individual or any group of people to try to incite the health professionals against government, pretending he cares more than us, is unfortunate. We must stop that. It's an avoidable tension we must avoid. It doesn't help the sector. If indeed you are a practicing health professional in the sector, it doesn't help the sector. And so, when the delegation came back, I had to follow up. I was in company with the Deputy Director General and other directors of the ministry. We joined the medical superintendent at the Ridge Hospital.
3 FM.
Without provocation. I think that as a ministry, we have
Sunrise on 3 FM, the best in the morning.
To improve upon the health sector. And it's expected, especially the players in the sector, for everybody to come on board for us to improve upon the sector. We have Mahama cares to deliver. And at this point in time, we are ruling out the secretariat. At National Health Insurance are paid promptly. Profits. The portal for admission, everybody must come on board for us to address how we can fight outbreaks. We have huge numbers of health professionals who have completed schools and they are settled at home, get employed on the global market. Especially, we've constituted a committee, including the rector of Ghana, Ghana Nurses and Midwives College, and then the registrar for NMC, right? For all of us to come together, to let us come together and find solutions to the problems that exist. That is our preoccupation. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, let me use this opportunity to state the chronological event that happened after the incident that occurred at Ridge Hospital. On Monday morning, I sent a delegation to Ridge Hospital to ascertain the situation. When the delegation came up, upon debriefing, I realized that I had to follow up. And ladies and gentlemen, let me state this, that I have the health workers of this country at heart. And so any attempt by any individual or any group of people to try to incite the health professionals against government, pretending he cares more than us, is unfortunate. And we must stop that. It's an avoidable tension we must avoid. It doesn't help the sector. If indeed you are a practicing health professional in the sector, it doesn't help the sector. And so, when the delegation came back, I had to follow up. I was in the company with the Deputy Director General and other directors of the ministry. We joined the medical superintendent at the Ridge Hospital, and I visited the victims.
Sunrise
After going around, we had a closed-door meeting to discuss the issues, not insults. One, how to look at beefing on the internal security, staffing issues. So, after the closed-door meeting, I came out to address the press to categorically condemn the physical attack. And that is the most important aspect. And for me, let me at this point reiterate to the whole country that irrespective of the level of provocation at any health facility in this country, nobody, irrespective of your status in society, absolutely nobody has the right to attack any health professional in this country.
Sunrise
that is the
3FM, the best.
That's the Health Minister, Kwabena Kando. Dr. David Tinkranchum is still with us. It's quite a lengthy press conference, and so I'll have to pause it here. We've heard from the minister, says that he has the health workers' interests best at heart, and some arrests have been made. This surely satisfies you to an extent based on what we saw happen in that video of the alleged assault.
Please come again.
I'm asking if the comment of the minister begins to satisfy nurses and midwives as to the care he continues to show to you based on his own statement, and it begins to reconcile the concerns you had when this assault happened.
All right. Thank you very much. I wouldn't want to react or respond to the statement of the minister. I mean, he's the minister of the sector. He has every legitimate right to address the nation and whatever concerns he deems fit. However, we as an association has reviewed the situation. We sent some people to Ridge Hospital to look at the patient acuity, the number of sick people that are still, occupying beds, if you like, that are on admission at the emergency department. We've spoken to management. We've looked at the beefing of security. We are actually in close collaboration with the police. They've given us the information that they've arrested one of the suspects, and they are doing everything possible to apprehend the rest of them. Based on all these nuances, we felt that we needed to take a certain course of action. So if you look at the release that we brought out, the original intent was to close down the emergency department by pulling our staff from the place. But looking at the number of patients that are there and the sympathy that we have received, from well-meaning, and the emphasis is well-meaning Ghanaians, we think that we need to look at the situation and continue the collaboration and the cooperation with the police so that they can apprehend the rest of them. That is what I can see as far as this particular question is concerned.
And for you, you're still not pleased with the level of efforts that has gone into this following your earlier release?
From which side? From the side of the minister?
From the side of the minister, the police, all parties in relation to this matter?
I mean, that is what has brought us to this level. That's why I'm telling you that we have to review our position based on the combined efforts of all of them, especially the security agencies. I was on call with the security heads yesterday, and I felt that they gave me enough assurance.
Right.
And I believe that not only the police, but all the security agencies are in a manhunt, I'm told, of the prime suspects and the rest of his associates.
So for now, patients can confidently know that the Ghana registered nurses and midwives do not intend any industrial action whatsoever at the Ridge Hospital over this matter.
We never intended to embark on a strike action. We were very specific and intentional about our release. We indicated that we are clothed by the law to remove ourselves from danger. Removing yourself from danger cannot be said to be a strike action or cannot be equated to a strike action.
What is your assessment of how the minister has handled this? Because in his speech, he says that this should not come up as persons within the health sector thinking they have health workers' interests best at heart than he, the minister, and that in all things everybody must come to the table for a conversation to be had and for the benefit and the well-being of health workers be pushed forward.
Our major challenge was the initial release that the ministry brought us, which was signed by the PRO. Nowhere in that release was it stated that those who committed that atrocious stuff over there will be apprehended. And that is where we had a difficulty. It was as though the blame was being shifted on the health provider, but not the health seeker, to the extent that they said they were going to investigate the purported, or if you like, the reported delay that culminated into the attack, meaning that we are justifying the attack. And that is where we have a difficulty, because nobody, and as the minister rightly stated, nobody has any legitimate right whatsoever to assault any healthcare worker. If you are a patient, you have a responsibility. You have a right under the patient charter. There is a new patient charter that is coming up, which is stated entirely that healthcare workers also have rights. You cannot lay your hand on any healthcare worker irrespective of the level of provocation. And who says somebody was provoked? If you understand the system of triaging, you will not say that I'm being delayed when I have been triaged green. And if, for the benefit of your listeners, let me explain this to people. Please, I want Ghanaians to agree with us and cooperate with us so that we can take very good care of them. In fact, I'll be the first person to condemn any means and bring such person to a disciplinary hearing if they misconduct themselves or he conducts himself in undermining the health care of patients. We need to have patients on our side to really advocate for us. So we have even rolled up series of training and mentorship programs to bring our people, some of them, the few but not, up to speed as far as professionalism is concerned. But that said, nobody has any right to intimidate or to attack anybody. And what happened there is a clear case of a criminal offense which constitutes assault and battery. Because the lady had sustained injuries, the lady had right shoulder dislocation, and that cannot be taken for granted. And if you listen to an account of the hospital and you said, I'm going to listen to the side of the other side. Which other side? If the other side or the perpetrator has any information to give, you can give it to the police. And if it is justified that it could go there and film people and jeopardize the privacy and security of the police and other patients, let me tell you, even we as healthcare workers, we don't have any right whatsoever under the sun to film anybody because it compromises the privacy of the individual.
Absolutely.
And we can be sued for it.
Right.
Okay. We don't do that. So let me talk to you about the triaging system. This is a standard international practice where patients are stratified in order of urgency and based on the severity or nearness or near mobility or mortality of the individual. He is either triage green, yellow, orange, or red. Sometimes black or blue when you are brought in dead. So let me end at red. So if you came and you are tried at green, like how Ralph was tried at green, those who were tried at red, orange, yellow will be taken care of. So if you don't understand that concept, you may think that they are delaying you. They will not leave you. They can give you some first aid to sustain you while they buy time to take care of those who are severely ill and they are near miss.
Which is why I come in, Doc, as to the communication, because at the heart of this, a lot of people say, I'm not saying that the assault is not important. It is important and it is being dealt with by the police. But if we're to take that outside of this, people raise the concern that this falls within the remit of conversations surrounding medical negligence. And I make the point, as always, that at the heart of it, there is a communication problem. Would you agree? A communication problem where for the patient, they do not understand what it is that you're saying, and so to them, there's a delay of some sort
Absolutely.
on your part as health workers in delivering healthcare to them.
I mean, if you have looked at the CCTV footages, not that split-second footage, but the overall action, even the very thing that Ralph himself filmed, the nature and the way he was conducting himself, do you think that he had readied himself for any explanation? But I agree with you. We need to be very intentional about educating the public so that they can appreciate and understand the processes that are involved. And I believe that if they get that education, if they are well educated on some of these things, they will be able to cooperate with us.
At the hospitals as well, Can there be some communication? Because you said you were going to release the CCTV footage. I've not seen it, and so I cannot make.
I'm going to release it.
I mean,
investigate that I have seen. It's not a split-second video that people are even justifying rash action. I mean, when the
for justification, I don't want to even have us have a conversation surrounding a justification or not.
Good.
At the heart of it, there is a concern about medical negligence because I've suffered it before, personally, on a very personal note, and so. At the heart of it, there's a conversation that needs to be had. And how are you, at the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives, leading that charge for your members as well to take charge and ensure that patient health is prioritized? Because, like I mentioned, I've suffered it before.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. That is the prime occupation of nurses and midwives, and for that matter, a responsible union like ours. That's why I reiterated that we are taking steps to upskill and reskill some of our bad nuts so that they can come up and, with a professional standard way of handling patients. And I agree perfectly with you that, look, those of us and myself can also fall victim and also share my experience with you. But I'm saying that the majority of our healthcare workers are good. But the few bad nuts ought to be corrected, and we will not shelve anybody, okay? And we are taking remedial steps to make sure that people are treated with dignity and respect. That we will not compromise about it, and we are very intentional about it. We're going to do that. We have even started that already. Only just last week, I drew facilitators from Canada, from the United States, and UHAS. to take nurses and midwives, those who attended upon the call, through a lot of things. And I believe that with time, we'll be able to correct some of these ills. Okay, and I cannot justify medical negligence, but it's also difficult to prove. You cannot attest to medical negligence or just look at something and say this is medical negligence, especially if you don't understand the processes. How can I understand? But of course, since all of us can fall victim to such a thing, then obviously we need to be very, very mindful about finding a holistic solution to these problems that are being put across by our people. People will not complain for nothing. Obviously, they will have legitimate concerns. And once it's coming up, then we need to take remedial measures. And that's why I'm saying that we are addressing the issues bit by bit, and we'll be able to do that. You understand? So we will need the cooperation of the public because it's in our own interest as well. Tomorrow, you can also fall victim. Myself, I can fall victim to such negligence. And if it ends by death or a deformity, what becomes of me? So it is something that we are with the public. Don't anybody delude himself to thinking that as for the association, they are always defending us. It's not like that.
That you always defend.
We actually have, that is what they don't know. We actually have a disciplinary committee. We have disciplinary, as an association. If you misconduct yourself, you can be brought, you have, faulted. As far as the standards of practice is concerned, we will send you to NMC, the regulator, to be dealt with. I'm telling you that, you see, some of these things doesn't come up.
Right.
A few nurses and midwives that we have seen their certificate. Let me make this thing clear so that the public can hear that we are not always out there defending nurses and midwives. We also take them through certain disciplinary measures. But we don't announce it. Some have had their certificates retrieved. Some have had their certificate revoked and suspended and all that. If you like, find out from NMC, they'll tell you.
Right.
So it's not as though we only come.
You're always coming to defend. But Doc, you are coming. You in particular are coming into sharp criticism as to some comment you've made regarding the minister as well. Yeah. That those who say that in your addressing of the matter, you spoke to the minister rudely, alluded to the fact that. Would you say, on hindsight, you want to withdraw some of those comments and, for instance, say apologize?
Let me respond to that comment. And then I didn't refer to the minister as a farmer. As a matter of fact, I interrogated the content of the release. And I said that the one who authored, and of course, it wasn't signed by the minister. Okay? And I didn't mention minister name anywhere. Don't forget that interview was in P, and they translated it directly into English. So if I say that Sabe, how will you write it in English? So I just want to say that I didn't attack the minister. I cannot attack the minister. He's somebody I've personally met, and I have assured him that he has my full support. We need to support him to succeed. Do you understand? Looking at his age and his wherewithal, the way he's passionate, all of us must support the minister to succeed, but not at the detriment of nurses and midwives. That is unacceptable. And I did not insult the minister, and I cannot insult the minister. Okay? I was interrogating the release, the content, and not the personality. And I cannot even insult the minister. So, I mean, when I heard that in a...
But they say you were rude.
Listen. When I heard that in a rude, I mean, it's relative.
That it wasn't befitting of your stature as a spokesperson of the registered nurses. And some even say that if the presidency writes... And you're seeking to address the presidency, do you draw in the president himself? Because the ministry routes, why then do you draw in the minister and seek to question his credentials and whether or not he can handle the sector?
I never said that. I never said that the minister is not competent to handle that sector. I have interviewed variously on various other media stations, and they've wanted to find out from me if the minister is competent. I have told them that, look, what is assessment of competency? He is working, and the president trusts him. That's why he has brought him there. All what we need to do is to cooperate with him. But if something goes amiss, we need to speak about it, and that's why we have the mandate of our people. I wasn't rude. I interrogated the content of the release. I felt that it did not address the major concern of the attack that took place, because there was nothing in any of the sentences that stipulated that the gentleman will be arrested or the people that came there will be arrested. And that was my problem. So if it is directly translated from Twi to English and people put some twist to it, I cannot be held responsible.
Are you satisfied now of his responses as he's been speaking, his involvement in trying to address these matters, and what his vision is for the sector going forward? You have a lot of confidence.
I think he has a clear vision for the sector, and he has also told us variously that his doors are wide open. And therefore, if you have any suggestion that we think were not to the benefit of the ministry and the entire citizenry of Ghana, he's open to that. And I think that's a good thing, and we need to support him. And at the risk of repeating myself, for him to succeed, you understand? But that does not mean that if something is going amiss, we will not talk about it. We will, certainly. Certainly, anything that goes against nurses and midwives in this country, we will talk about it. And nobody can shut our mouth as far as that is concerned. We will be very, very intentional about it. We will try to do so in a very respectful manner, okay? But nobody should delude himself in thinking that he can gag anybody in this country.
Have you been gagged? Has there been attempts to gag you?
Obviously, if you are falsely accused of undermining your minister when that is not the original intent of whatever you said, then it amounts to gagging. It's like they are forcing something on you. I can't just the minister. I never mentioned the minister's name. He didn't alter the release. I talked about the discipline of the person that altered the release. So why should that amount to rudeness or disrespect?
Has the nurses and midwives engaged the ministry over this matter? This matter which has now you're saying you're being accused of disrespecting the minister. Have you engaged him on this matter? What's been the engagement like?
On which matter?
On the issue at hand.
No, I think we are dealing with all the stakeholders. If you read our release, we are dealing with all the stakeholders. We are dealing with the police because the ministry has set up a committee. You understand? Okay, and there's an answer from that committee. The union wasn't invited. The union was not, if you like, consulted in the establishment of the committee. I thought that maybe based on the agency of it, the minister felt that he needed to put that committee together quickly. But we are looking at the criminal aspect of it. That is where our interest is, because that is what goes to the core of the matter. As for the committee, it is intended to look at a holistic occurrence and how we can even, deal with or find solutions to deal with such lapses in other facilities, not only at reach. I hope you understand. So that is a medium to long-term plan. But immediately we need to apprehend the culprit so that they can face the full rigors of the law. That is our major preoccupation.
Doc.
But when we are invited to appear before the committee or give the account or whatever, we will make ourselves available for such interaction.
Doc, just before I let you go, there's a message that's come through from a listener who says that there's been a lot of politics embroiled with the Nurses and Midwives Association and that you were political and possibly you should resign from your position because of the attack on the minister.
Oh, that is wrong. I've already told you that I didn't attack the minister and I wasn't political. People don't know my political inclination. I mean, all those speculations is that we are apolitical. Let me tell you, the organization is not run by only one person. You understand? The 29 National Council that takes decisions.
They say you are. I'm sure you've heard some of the allegations. You've heard some of the allegations.
Not aligned to any political party. We are apolitical. We look at the issues in perspective. That's why I told you, or even though the chronicle of the event, and let me establish this and let people understand it. That if there is any government that we have even embarked a strike action during their term, it's not anything government. You understand? So don't let people bring politics in. We will not do politics because the association was established in 1960. If you had aligned ourselves with politicians, we will not be this relevant. And that is why when NDC is in power, they say that they're MPP. When MPP is in power, they say they're NDC. In 2020, they accused us of being NDC. As a matter of fact, I was accused. Okay, that we have collected His Excellency Mr. Mahama had given us $5 million to go on strike in 2020 during MPP time. Is that not the case? So, I mean, these things come and go. And once every political party that comes to office accuses you of belonging to the opposition, it means that you are doing something right. It means that you are in the middle. Because I have been accused of being an NDC before. Okay? And by even close friends. Okay, who knew me from secondary school and all that? So this is not surprising. And I don't think that we need to bring politics into this, irrespective of whoever is involved and his political inclination. If somebody misconducts himself, clearly it ought to be dealt with. I hope you understand. Because you see, the tables can turn. And we cannot sit down for these things continue. Tomorrow, the tables turn, and somebody will refer you to Ralph issue and say, hey, Ralph even went to do this, nothing happened to him. So then we are trying to justify those kind of things. No, that's unacceptable. And we need to make some of these things back. That's why we are talking the way we are talking, and we are very, very serious about it. So nobody should bring politics in this matter. And I'm saying that if any political party since 1992 will say that this association has troubled them, is a MPP tradition, not the NPP tradition. Because in 2004, we went on strike, and MPP was in power. 2006, we went on strike, MPP was in power. 2020, we went on strike, MPP was in power. It's only 2025 that, out of this condition of service and the deliberate for it not to include the condition of service in our budget, in 2025 budget, that led us to that this short strike action that we embarked upon.
What's the progress? I was going to let you go. What's the progress on that front? We know the health committee intervened, and there were subsequent meetings. Has there been an agreement reached now? Because I saw a statement from you and Madame Perpetual a lot earlier about the fact that you were being disrespected and taken for granted. Has that been rectified now?
Absolutely. You see, people are saying that we are disrespecting the ministry, but let me take it answer that issue specifically. The Parliamentary Select Committee of Health intervened, and out of the demands that we placed on the table, 8 items, they said we should pick 4. We picked 4 later. When we met them, they could only offer 2. And then we said no. And that was going to take us to another route of whatever cause of action. But the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission Chief Executive intervened, and then we had a series of meetings with Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, the Ministry, and Ministry of Finance. And then they were able to add one of the items. And we felt that if we were looking for 4 and they've given us 3, why should we continue? And we're expecting it to even be paid this August. I hope you understand. And later, all what we heard was that the Minister of Finance was on PM Express saying that he has not been briefed by the sector minister. You see, some of these things create a lot of challenges and doubts for us. But you see, it's in the past. Let's see how it goes. We are expecting that it will start from this August, if at least for one reason or the other, it doesn't start in August. We will still give ourselves up to September and observe the situation and see what happens. I believe that they will not deceive us into thinking that we're going to implement the 3 only for us to come to that realization that it wasn't well intended. But we have absolute faith in the minister. He can have my assurance, can have the assurance of the association. We will cooperate with him. We will support him. As I said, not on the detriment of necessary drugs.
Look, I appreciate you speaking to us. That's Dr. David Tinkran Chum. He's the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, speaking to us this morning, taking us to 11 minutes to the top of the hour here on 3FM Sunrise. Joining me in studio as well right now is Timothy Atabuade Awutirim. He is a former Member of Parliament for the Busa North constituency as well, joining us in studio this morning. Honorable, thank you very much for joining us in studio.
Thank you, and good morning to your cherished listeners and to yourself and to your team.
Right.
Happy to be here this morning.
Fantastic. I just want to pick your thoughts on this health conversation briefly and all of the development that's transpired. You've been hearing my interaction with Dr. Tinkran Chum. What's been your own assessment of how this alleged assault incident has happened and what many have described as near disrespect of the minister by Dr. Chum?
Yes, thank you. You see, so there's an incident that happened at the Ridge Hospital involving one of our social media commentators and so on. The minister swiftly went to the hospital to assess the situation and to also look at the security issue so that when in future we'll look at the way forward. Dr. Tinkran, who should have exercised a little bit of maturity and diplomacy in his response, went berserk. And not just, I was interested in the conversation, the questions you asked him blankly. People are saying that he's arrogant. How are you arrogant? Your body language, your demeanor, and your conduct tells a lot about yourself. I often tell people that the content of your character would expose you when you're a little bit disturbed. Most of the times we read people physically and we say that, oh, this man is a gentleman. But allow a little bit of disturbances in his conduct and it will expose his real character. Dr. Tinkran has been, it's not just the first time. I think there was an issue of which I think the nurses' salaries.
When the salary issue came
yes, and look at his posture, his conduct. Today he's denying that he's not a politician and so on and so forth. But your conduct and your utterances and your attitude really allows people to read other meanings into you and so on. So it is not just that as a result of what he said, attacking the minister, it has made some nurses group, Concerned Nurses Association, to come out and to reprimand him. And when you do that, you are undermining the association for which we all respect, because these are professional bodies that we respect. If the leaders of such an association would come out and attack senior public officers like the health minister, notwithstanding the chilling that happened or the issues that happened at the Rich Hospital, I think it's unfortunate and it should not happen. His conduct has come out to be that he's a man who is so arrogant. And you see, they become arrogant because they belong to these professional bodies that you constantly need to go back to them for their services. Where the least withdrawal of their services can throw your policies and your governance away. So the ride on the back of their professional association to hoodwink or withhold government, and government sometimes is compelled to quiesce in to agree to some of these issues. But for me, it is also condemnable for any assault to be done to any fellow, any Ghanaian, whether you're a professional or not. It could be that you're a teacher, and even a Zumila worker. We should not encourage violence. We should not encourage people to attack people when they are doing their work and so on. And again, what does it tell us about our medical services providers? What is their conduct? What is their attitude towards their clients? The clients here mean we, the sick people, go to them to ask for services and so on. Medical emergencies, how is it handled and so on? Sometimes patients go there with their own perceptions about the fact that I'm sick, I've come in so in a desperate mood. How should I be handled? There's medical psychology. There's a lot for us to be able to handle our patients and explain matters to them. Look, I think in 2016 or so, there was this issue in Kofuanochi Teaching Hospital where a pregnant woman gave birth and then the child suddenly vanished. You remember that case, Zuyebe's case?
Yeah.
And interestingly, at the time, I've been monitoring that case. The medical association president at the time, I've been trying to get his name, asked that they should go on a strike. Someone has lost the child. What you could be doing as a professional association was to get the fellow counsel so that they could be able to take the fellow through the psychological trauma the fellow is going through. You were calling for strike because some unruly youth came from where the woman came from, I think one of the Zongo areas or so, and made noise there. And you think that it is enough for you to go on strike when the fellow gave birth and the child got lost mysteriously. And sometimes some of these our mothers, they go through a lot before they give birth. Sometimes
the trauma
even to
and all
get
of
the
that
trauma. Even sometimes to get a child is a problem. And this woman struggled to get a child and immediately gave birth. The child, you are not thinking of resolving the matter. You were calling on the medical association to go on strike. Really? Is that how we handle it? And for me, it's about time government begin to tighten its laws on the employment of professionals in this country to ensure that government does itself, is part of the bargaining to ensure that conditions that are necessary for your operations, including your emoluments, are done. But what betides them if they want to take the taxpayer or Ghanaians for granted? We all come from the same. I have families who are doctors, nurses. My auntie has been a nurse over 30 years at the Teachman Holy Family Hospital, and I stayed with him throughout. And if you look at the discipline there, you dare not do anything to a patient. And at 7 o'clock exactly there in the hospital, if you fail to get at 7 o'clock, you are queried. And as at that time that I'm taking, so they go to hospital without even taking their breakfast, and they work 24 hours there. This was when nursing was held as a profession that everybody found it jealous to be with them and so on. So for me, what happened there, the police have given us their word that one person has been picked up as a result. Let's allow the security agencies to work. But then I must tell you that Mr. Tinkran, or is it Dr. Tinkran?
Dr. David Tinkran.
The public view him as very arrogant, very rude, and his utterances talking to senior public officers who are ministers, who are the representatives of the people and so on. Because a member of parliament who is a minister is a representative for the people. He carries a constituency. I'm not saying that Dr. Tinkran does not have a constituency. In fact, the Nurses Association is a big constituency by itself. And so on. We acknowledge the services they provide. We condemn the actions of people whose conduct led to the assault on the nurse and so on.
I think there's general unison in terms of the condemnation of the assault.
Yes, and we must take what the minister has said seriously, and we would ensure that security is beefed up in our health facilities. I've seen situations like, look, in other areas of the world, a health provider, we've been seeing news about health providers who have been jailed. We've seen them across the globe.
Yeah.
I had a doctor friend who is late now, is a senior brother doctor, that he was telling me that he did his training in Russia, that look, if a patient die in your hands,
it's a huge deal.
Look, it's a huge case, and the interrogations you go through, they'll bring all the medical experts, and the pathologists will be brought, you name them, and then you face them. They will interrogate you and ask you questions. How did the patient die? I met Dr. Abdallah, the neurosurgeon at Kolubu Teaching Us, and then Dr. Dakura and one other Dr. Wikeba. They are all neurosurgeon consultant at that. And Dr. Wikeba trained in Cuba. I was asking a lot of these questions about it. I told him that in Cuba, any patient that dies, the matter goes straight to the president. Any patient that dies in Cuba, the matter will be brought before the president for attention. So you are very careful as to how to treat your patients. Remember that patients, when they come there, they are vulnerable. You know, when you go there with a headache, you are always desperate. You want to know what can serve as a respite to you or a relief to you so that you'll be better off in terms of your health. So for me, I think that we should allow the security agencies to go through these things and so on. And then we see how best we can take it from there. But the major issue now is how emergencies are handled. Caregivers handle emergencies at our various clinics and hospitals across the country. If this had happened probably in my constituency in Evle, we might not have even heard it and so on. Health workers go through a lot of challenges. Some even cross rivers when it's raining to get to their workplace. You know that. Some work under terrible conditions. Some even use their monies to sometimes support patients. Let's recognize this and give credit to where it is due. But we accept that what happened wasn't proper. The conduct of Dr. Tinkran, he must re-examine himself and know how to talk. Once you are made a leader, people have so much confidence in you. They look at you and they see some traits, some quality traits. That's why they gave you the position. If you come out and your conduct is contrary to what the people expect you to do, then it's really a big problem. And I think that with this, it's a lesson we must learn. We must learn the lessons. You were saying that you had an experience.
Yes, I've had a personal experience.
And if you open the phone lines this morning, will not be able to talk about experiences people have had with their interactions or into contact with caregivers in this country. It is sometimes nauseating, irritating, and hurtful when you are looking for relief and you go to a health worker and the way they treat you disdainfully. They treat you with condescending conduct, and I think that they themselves must also up their games. The leadership of the Ghana Nurses Association and Ghana Medical Association must constantly have in-service training as to how patients should be handled, no matter the conditions in which you find yourself.
Right. Honorable, thank you very much for those thoughts. And it's exactly 9:01 here on 3FM 92.7. We're going on to the next conversation, having to do with Iyoko and the tango with Shatta Wale. Yesterday, he was granted a 5 million cedis bail. Initially, it was 10 million cedis, but it looked like it was exorbitant, and they were struggling to meet it. And so Iyoko revised the bail term. That was after he had spent a night behind, I don't want to say behind bars, but in detention because he had not met the bail conditions. But Iyoko issued a statement yesterday, and generally there's a clampdown of some sort on stolen vehicles here in Ghana. But I want to just go through the statement from Iyoko, which, if you're following us on Facebook, you see that on your screens right now, having to do with that statement as issued yesterday by Iyoko, where they, amongst many other things, explain first off why Shatta Wale had to spend the night at their premises or in their facility, and the fact that he arrived at 3 p.m. insisting that he was not going to cooperate until his counsel had arrived. If you read that statement in full, because this is an abridged version, Iyoko says that the counsel of Shatta Wale appeared at 5 p.m., which was their closing time actually at their offices, but they nonetheless stayed till around 9 p.m. when he was granted bail of some 10 million cedis and with 2 sureties. He couldn't meet the sureties, and so once the sureties were certified and vetted and inspected, he will be free to leave, which is what happened yesterday. But in terms of the investigations and reason for which Shatta Wale has become a person of interest, he is to assist in investigations surrounding a 2019 Lamborghini Urus, a car which was identified by the FBI and then the U.S. Justice Department as proceeds of crime, $4 million rather, not cedis, $4 million crime. That would be roughly around 40-something million cedis in Ghana cedis if you want to use the prevailing exchange rates by the Bank of Ghana. Now, by one Kwabena Amwa, who is a Ghanaian who is currently serving jail term in the U.S. A bit more on the findings from their investigation. They say that Shatta Wale has not been able to identify the person who he purchased the vehicle from, except to say that he purchased it from the streets, and that has made a lot of rounds, and from someone possibly called Zach, who may have contacted him on WhatsApp, but his identity he does not know, and the contact he is thrown away. A very interesting revelation. So far, you're laughing. So far, Charles Nyama Mensah does not also possess any documentation in terms of receipt or transfer documents, which shows that he owns or purchased the said vehicle, except a custom declaration document that is in possession of the name of the individual currently serving jail term for the $4 million crime currently. And so this is what we know as with regards the issue involving Shatta Wale. But he was subsequently granted bail. Let's just take a listen to some of his supporters who were there yesterday in quite some number demanding his release, and then I'll come back to you, Honorable.
So, kidney, I can sell my kidney. I can even sell my kidney. I'll sell my kidney for that money. Anything. I'm ready. SM till casket. I'm ready to even sell my kidney.
Love you get for Shatta Wale.
Well, Shatta Wale's love is undescribable. You know, Shatta Wale is Ghana's Abraham. You understand? Abraham means father of all nations. You understand? Shatta Wale is like, let me say, a president. You know, once Nkrumah is dead, his name is still alive. That's Wale. Wale will live till. So just let's all reign peace. Release Wale, then we go on peacefully. We don't want any conflict or something. You understand? Yeah. If you can't keep Wale here forever, so once he's there, we can be here. If he's going to be there forever, we are going to be here forever. I swear to God. Yeah.
How long have you been here?
I've been here 6 months now. That's Mr. Alive, so they have to free us.
And how long are you willing to stay here if he's still not really?
We are still here. We are still waiting for SM.
I am actually not coming to do Q&A. I'm here to supply information to you guys, and that's it. The good news is that Shatta Wale has been granted bail and he has been released. finally, at the moment, he's been released to go home. Once again, another good news is that the bail conditions was reduced from 10 million to 5 million Ghana cedis with 2 sureties, and that is what we are all happy about. So, to the media guys who came to cover this event, to the fans especially, and to the management people, as well as some friends and supporters of the Shatta movement, we want to say we are grateful. God bless you so much, and thank you for your continued support. Shatta Wale is ever grateful to you guys for whatever you've done for him. I'm sure from time to time.
I'm done is safe and I'm home now, and I just want to say a big thank you for supporting, and for being around me in times like this, because I needed you guys, the most, because you guys are the ones that hold me down. Once again, I want to say, a big thank you to everybody that has been in support of this, Shouts to Neo Original Wandon, who has been a father to me too, and he's been very supportive too as well. To all the staff of Yoko, you guys have been wonderful. At least I came there. You guys really took me through that rightful processes that was needed, and I just want to say God bless you, and to Mr. Ramonacha, I just want to tell you, I thank you so much for your understanding. And on is safe, and
so that's Shatta Wale.
Want to say a big thank you.
Yesterday, after he got home, he held a short, I don't want to call it a press conference, but a TikTok live, assuring his fans that he was safe and all. So, what have you made of? I mean, when I was going through his statement, you were reacting to some bits and pieces of it.
First
on the part of the state agency, it's been handled well. And then before we talk about the persona Shatta Wale, even in the grand scheme of clamping down on stolen vehicles.
First and foremost, why do we set up state institutions? The law setting up Yoko is very clear on its functions and the processes they use, and I don't think it has been changed or amended. And for me, if state institutions that are mandated to investigate crime or to provide whatever services to the state, we must respect that institution and encourage the state institution to do its work using due processes. For me, people are massing at state institutions when their favorites are arrested, and trying to put pressure on the state institution and so on must be looked at. We must all get
They say the politicians, you started all of this,
that is what I'm
now
saying.
the ordinary individuals are learning.
I know where you are going, because we had members of parliament who left their constitutional function to go to a state institution.
But
like
I know this transcends even
it transcends. I choose what I want.
You're picking and choosing which one you want to use as a reference point.
Not as such, but to get members of parliament to leave their work, boycott parliament, to go to a state institution, to sit on the floor, and to protest and demand the release of a suspect that has been brought legally or lawfully by a state institution. In fact, crafted to do that job, then what are we doing to our state institution? We must often encourage them. For me, I think that Yoko is now doing the work that has really been established under the leadership of Raymond Archer. It doesn't matter whose horse is God. What matters is that, is he doing it in accordance with due process? Has he flouted any law? When you look at the whole issue involving the crimes, these are serious crimes. Again, not just Ghana, not just a Ghanaian state, but what we call global crimes or across-border crimes. And states do not take these things seriously. The United States is known to trace stolen monies, items across the globe. It doesn't matter their relationship with you. Once a crime is committed, it's committed, and we must do it. Look, Shatta Wale, when the question was put to him, we heard that he said that he bought the Lamborghini on the street. How do you respond like that to a public officer who is interrogating, wanting you to know the truth? In fact, it was a platform for Shatta Wale to explain himself to the people of this country and to his teeming fans that, look, I am a victim of a crime and I am prepared to assist the state institution to ensure that we get to the root of the matter. So that it doesn't matter whether he retrieves the money again, but lessons will be learned, not by Shatta Wale alone, but even by other people who are currently possessing properties that they do not know the source of them. They will begin to re-examine and look at the source of their property acquisition and begin to do the right thing or get the right people. If you say that you bought it on the street, what you are doing is that you are covering crime and you want to cover up the one who sold it to you. Are you telling me that the 150,000 you allegedly paid for it's not something to you? It's huge. 150,000 is not small. The Yoko is accusing you of money laundering, taxes, and other issues, including international crime. It is the best time for you to assist state institutions to unearth the sources of all this, so that at the end of the day, look, Shatta Wale can even become what we call a campaigner. Shatta Wale at one time can become a campaigner against stolen item and against tax issues, money laundering. Remember, this country was one time blacklisted for money laundering and so on.
In fact, we're back on the list for a destination or a hub for stolen vehicles.
For stolen vehicles, which is, look, when you begin to be painted black in the international world, how are your leaders sin when they go outside there? Remember that we are part of Interpol. We are part of so many international organizations that we've signed. We've appended our signature to in order to fight international crime, including child trafficking, gun running, money laundering. You talk about them. These are crimes against humanity. And for me, the youth that went there, they have a right to gather there to support whosoever that they love, but their icon is not above the law. Remember, John Dramani Mahama, president now, even as vice president, was invited by Yoko. He went there. Jacob Zuma of South Africa was in jail. You named them, the celebrities across the world, one time or other, tasted jail or have been invited to explain issues concerning acquisitions of property, even tax evasions and so on, across the world. In the United States, Michael Jackson faced these trials until his death. R. Kelly is in jail. Mike Tyson, you name them, all of them. We cannot be a country, an island. We are part of the global village, and we must be seen to be enforcing laws both locally and internationally, so that in future, when we have an issue, we can also go to the international community for support and so on. So for me, Yoko did his best. Look at what Yoko told us, that the lawyer came at around 5. That was their closing hour. And what happened was that they had to bend backward to sit to ensure that they do it. Maybe they wouldn't have done that to you or to me, but by the status of what do you call it, a celebrity like Shatta Wale, they were able to bend backward to do that, spending hours to listen to him and so on. So if responses then come like you bought it on the street, what are you telling people that you bought it on? What language is there? And you know, by his conduct, he's influenced a large following. And you know, the current youth would do everything. They would do everything to get money, including killing people, including living lifestyle that is above whatever that they're able to get. So Shatta Wale's behavior should mirror good governance, should mirror someone that the youth will look up to, and we can harness that aspect of his good conduct and throw away the bad aspect of Shatta Wale's conduct. And he can be a reformer. He can be a campaigner for most of these things. So for me, I think people who are closer to him, including even his parents, should be talking to him. Because a time will come, your name will be associated with these things. And he should be careful, because if it gets to a point that maybe the United States is asking for his extradition, he will be sent there. We cannot protect him.
Well, it's early days here.
That's what I'm saying. That if it comes,
we don't know the status. Yes, I'm not also suggesting that you're seeking to imply by this that he's going to.
If they are asking for, we will send him. We wouldn't protect him. We'll send him there, and when he goes there...
By this assertion, my producer is asking if you're you're an SM fan or you're a Beam native, because your narrative is seeking to overly bash him.
I am not his fan. I must say that looking at me and the type of songs that they play, I cannot be his fan. I'm a fan to other artists. But and for me, I think that he has to be careful. He's talking too much. The first time the Lamborghini was given, it was done undercover. He came out and told the whole world that they came to your house with guns. State security will come to you with guns. These are the weapons they use. They come there. How were the weapons used or handled on you and so on? We should be supporting state institutions that have been legally mandated to carry out their duties. Once they do this procedurally, we don't have anything to fault them. And your lawyer is there. Lawyers are there. So for me, Shatta Wale's are fans, yes. They can go ahead. But I think that the law is the law, as we were told by the suspended chief judge. The law is the law, and we must do that. That's why I asked, if it were to be you or myself, probably would have still been languishing there. And for me, this is what I have to say about it.
But I want us to be forward-looking in the conversation, even as you've admonished, and we're seeking to raise legal experts as well to help us understand what really the situation we're in, stolen goods, whether or not you could go in for that. And this is a good enough education for all of us as well, because now we are being told that this country is becoming a hotbed for stolen vehicles. What happens if you work hard, get money, you go and buy a vehicle? What should you be looking out for, amongst many other things, are some of the questions perhaps we'll be seeking to provide a bit more education on. But being forward-looking in the conversation and the investigations that have gone on, I've heard you on the admonition to Shatta Wale. What will be the expectation on Iyoko as well? Because there's been the accusation of abuse of power, being high-handed, even in the granting of the bail in itself. Some say that 10 million cedis in the initial stages was too high-handed. The purpose of bail was not being met by Iyoko, and they had to revise it themselves.
The Lamborghini was how much?
150,000. That's not.
Multiply that by even 10 cedis to $1, and you tell me that it wasn't high-handed. I know Iyoko knows what they are doing. They have legal officers there. And even, look, sometimes when suspects are arrested, people should not say they are being high-handed on them. When they were committing the crime, they were high-handed on those that committed the crime against.
I'll pause you there briefly, and then we'll go on to the phone lines right now and speak to Justice Abdullah. He's a private legal practitioner and a law lecturer as well, joining us via the phone. Counsel, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. I'm sure you followed the developments involving Shatta Wale as well. For starters, from the legal point of view, what do we have on our hands? Illegally, wrongfully possession, or what?
Thank you so much. Good morning to your listeners. We need to look at this in perspective. To the extent of the facts that we have on our hands, we have in hand at this moment, i.e. the communique from the Iyoko and Shatta Wale's, if you like, rantings on social media, except for yesterday's sober reflections and the rendering of deep appreciations to the authorities. You would come to that point of conclusion that Iyoko is not acting on his own volition in this particular case. There is an order by a court in the United States ordering the United States government to recover assets that are alleged to be proceeds of a crime, and for which reason someone has been convicted and is currently serving a prison sentence. And the vehicle in question at this point is linked to that person. How it is linked is clearly not known to all of us at this moment, but it is part of the assets of the person. It is from the information that
Iyoko has provided,
brought out. Clearly, the vehicle is in the name of that person, and so he is known to be the owner. Unfortunately, Shatta tells us that he bought the vehicle from the street from one ZAC. I mean, that is possible because in buying of a vehicle in Ghana, you do not necessarily need to buy from the actual owner. You can buy from third parties. And so it is possible that is true. Except that sometimes there could be some level of naivety when it comes to some of these subjects. But what we have, if you like, is potentially the commission of about 3 crimes, depending on the circumstances. So we could have on our hands the receiving of a stolen item, which in law you may probably call it dishonest receiving, and that would take into consideration the street value or the market value of the vehicle as against how much Shatta is alleged to have purchased it based on his social media rantings that he bought it for $150,000 USD. I mean, when we know that Lamborghini cost way more than that. Of course, we could also have the possibility of conspiracy or abetment of crime. And I said could advisedly because we do not know the extent to which this vehicle is involved in a crime and the extent to which Shatta Wale is involved in anything. Until the investigations come out, we are unable to say any of these things for certain. But one thing is for sure, i.e., the fact that the vehicle is a subject of a crime. And so there could be all kinds of things unraveling at some point in time, and we can never be absolutely certain from today. It is in view of this that I was very happy with the sober reflection and the level of maturity Shatta Wale demonstrated yesterday, as against the previous commentaries that he had been making on this subject.
So more of reality dawning on him and him beginning to appreciate the levels and then the extent of what is really at play. But there are those who ask the question, how well can he be implicated in all of this? Because he says he bought the vehicle from a third party. He has no knowledge whatsoever as to what may have happened, and the fact that this is a vehicle in the subject of crime. Is that enough justification for him not to be liable? And this is education that we're seeking to get, because now we are understanding a lot more people are buying stolen vehicles which they are not very much aware of.
And that is very true, that our country is littered with, if you like, stolen vehicles mainly from Europe and the North Americans. And most of the times we buy it from people we have never even encountered, for obvious reasons, because of the way vehicles are sold here. But then again, that is not a defense to the commission of a crime. It is not. You may even buy it for a market value, but you could still be charged with either abetment or of a crime after the fact. And so it is just prudent that if I was to offer an advice, that in buying of vehicles, you need to be more prudent than just the excitement of owning yet another piece of a toy. You need to be more prudent by way of ensuring that you are dealing with an authorized person who has the owner, particularly when you're buying from the United States and other parts of North America. You are likely to have the certificate of ownership accompanying the purchase. And so if you are buying from whether a third party or whoever, you should ensure that these documents are added to the documents that is being transferred to you. That way you can guarantee yourself that you are buying a legitimate vehicle. On the other hand, if the person claims to be the owner, there are a lot more other steps that you may have to take. For instance, you may have to insist on dealing with the consignee or the owner of the vehicle, because the consignee may be different from the owner of the vehicle, and the owner maybe is likely to be the one who cleared the vehicle from the port. And so, and that is where the consignee is a little is different from the owner. In such cases, my recommendation would be to insist on meeting the actual owner. That way, you may necessarily be able to absorb yourself completely from the commission of a crime, but you are likely to be able to point out whoever this person is. And if the circumstances are genuine, you could absorb yourself from from any criminal liability and possibly be used as a prosecution witness. Otherwise, at every point in time, you must act right, act with prudence. And unfortunately, because of the nature of our systems, you are unable to determine to the highest degree of certainty as to whether a particular vehicle is stolen or not. And so it is that reason that you may have to be more prudent by asking more questions, by insisting on legitimate documentations, by insisting on meeting the actual owner rather than buying from, but you could still buy from a third party but insist on meeting the actual owner.
And in the case of Shatta Wale and what we have come to know as the facts of the case per what Iyoko has told us, granted, and this is a big if, he doesn't know anything about it and all of that, what could be justifiable enough defense for him?
That may be difficult considering that we are at this point projecting into the future without necessarily having the benefit of the entire facts in our hands. And his position of buying from the street and buying from a Zag and having thrown away the person's contact, it makes the whole thing sound a bit naive, and so makes it difficult to be able to project into the quality of a defense that could be mounted for and on his behalf. But that notwithstanding, there would always be some form of defense to this whole thing. But for two main reasons. First, because he was not in the United States at the time of the commission of the crime. Second, he is not a consignee, as pointed out by Iyoko. Third, he is likely not to have cleared the vehicle from the port. So all these absolve him from the crime one step at a time. But how he became owner of the vehicle, got into custody. In fact, let's even remember that legally he's not even the owner of the vehicle. All these are defense. Legally, from the communique from Iyoko, he's not the owner of the vehicle, notwithstanding what he might have said on social media. Shatta Wale is not the legal owner of the vehicle. The owner of the vehicle is clearly indicated. I think one
Amwa, who is a person of interest and currently serving jail term in the USA.
So, in view of all these facts, Shatta is at every point in time a step away from the crime. Notwithstanding all the noise he's making, he's not the actual owner. He's in possession of the vehicle. That is not in doubt. He's in possession of it, but he's never the owner. And that possessory right, even though it's also good enough in law for him to be charged or attacked for and prosecuted or investigated, whichever is appropriate within the circumstances of the case. But it does not operate to make him the owner, and so removes him at every step from the crime. And those circumstances could be good grounds for him to adequately defend himself from the particular crime that he may be charged with.
Counsel, I think we'll leave it here. As at now, the facts still continue to remain very scanty, but I appreciate the education that you've been providing us this morning.
It's for God and country always.
That's Justice Abdullah. He's a private legal practitioner and a law lecturer at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. Honorable, back to you. We're making a point, but we've been getting a bit more in terms of what possibly could play out based on the facts as we have it.
Yes, you see, I think it's a big lesson, not just to Shatta Wale, but to all prospective property buyers, that you must often look for the right source to acquire your heart desire property. And I know the Lamborghini is something that is Shatta Wale's heart. So if you have such an amount of money, $150,000, you must ensure that whatever that you are acquiring with that money is from a genuine source. And I believe that he could have even bought this Lamborghini straight from the US by himself with such an amount, you understand, and not buy from the street like he's saying he bought from the street. And state agencies too must also assist in some of these issues. How did Shatta Wale register the car if all the documents that were supposed to be accompanying the vehicle were not? How was it registered? I don't know whether it's registered or not. But then, even in this country, look at acquisition, the process of acquiring properties in this country. Land, people can sell land to people, more than 3 people. Multiple people, my brother. How do you do that? What sort of state institutions do we have? At the Lands Commission, we have chiefs or landowners selling the land to different people, and they go to the Lands Commission. They are able to register the same land. How possible is that? How possible the fact that Tim bought a land from you, I registered it, a different fellow bought the same land, different fellow bought the same property? State institution must also be diligent and scrutinize documents when they are brought before them for a property to be registered. And I think that with this we can move forward. You see, but the crime is just larger than the Lamborghini that we are talking about. They are talking about money laundering, which is even much more serious than just the car that he bought, wherever the car bought. They're talking about tax issues and other crimes. Like you said, the issues are unfolding. We may wake up to hear more detailed crimes that might be involving Shatta Wale, and that is where our fears and all our apprehensions would come to play, because sometimes with celebrities and people with high political status, they evade these things. But when there's an international institution demanding for you or demanding for the right thing to be done, your country cannot continue to protect you or withhold you. The country must do the right thing, because we are signatories to international protocols, conventions, and international laws and so on. And when it happens, are you going to blame the government of the day for extraditing a Ghanaian back to another country for crimes that he committed there, or he's involved or associated there? No, we cannot do that. So for me, I think that it's an eye-opening to almost everybody. There are a lot of people, like we rightly put it this morning, that there are a lot of stolen cars on the street. They should begin to look at them and re-examine and go to the source where they bought those stolen cars and begin to get their documentation. Even not, it's like it's festering, it's coming. One day to get to you. Shatta Wale is only opening more doors for other stolen cars, and some of the cars have been retrieved and so on. So for me, it's a big lesson. The issue of the legal perspective, I'm trying hard to understand whether if you ban, if you are genuinely ban an item that you do not know that it is stolen, how can the law deal with that? Maybe there was negligence on your part, or you did not do due diligence.
That's what counsel was telling us, that unless the law enforcers are not interested, you could be charged for dishonestly receiving. Dishonestly receiving, because ignorance, like we've heard say a lot of time, is not an excuse before the law. It's not a defense, like you put it. And so you could be charged with dishonestly receiving. And I recall we've been trying to, since this began to come up, we've been asking questions from the Vehicle and Assets Dealers Association of Ghana. How do you tell when you're buying a vehicle that this vehicle is not stolen, and to protect yourself? Because I've read on social media people expressing or sharing their thoughts that, well, you work hard, you gather 150,000 cedis, you buy a vehicle, and one day you're driving it, and in the middle of the road, the police stops you, or national security stops you and says, get out of this vehicle. They show you a warrant or a court document of some sort saying that your vehicle is stolen, and so it's being confiscated and it's being returned to where it was taken from. That would be very crushing.
Yeah, it's crushing, but we must do
so due diligence has to take place on your part as a citizen as well.
Yes, and with the benefit of IT, digital information, we should be able to track these things. You can let an IT fellow, we can use IT to track some of these things, because we cannot allow this country to be blacklisted as a country that's a destination for stolen cars. How? Where there are a lot of decent people in this country who are working so hard. And like I said earlier, it's not just about, you see, people like Shatta Wale needs to cooperate fully with the investigations institution. You know why?
I think his mannerisms suggest he will.
You know why? when you cooperate with the investigation institution, even you can be pardoned for the crimes, because you would have cooperated fully. Sometimes it's not just the arrest, but they want to get to the bottom of the matter to be able to uproot the ring, the gang that is involved in the stolen cars. It's not a one-man job. It's a gang. It's a ring. So they would want you to cooperate with them so that they are able to get to the root of the matter. And in that cooperation, at the end of the day, you can be set free. You can be, even the car can be given back to you depending on the circumstances under which you assist them get to the root cause of the matter. Investigation people normally are not interested in the immediate cause of the crime.
They look at the bigger picture.
They look at the bigger picture. How can we stop it? It's just like you have cancer. A doctor is not just interested in treating the cancer. He's interested in looking at how the cancer started and how he will be able to cut off the spread of that cancerous cells, which is very important in crime fighting. I keep telling people, I've been an investigator before for 10 years with Shrag. And some of these cases, when they are brought before, even though we're not investigating criminal cases, we're investigating cases of human rights, administrative abuse. But sometimes when you follow some of these cases, and then you get to the research, you see that no, the fellow probably genuinely did not. And you know how, as an investigator, to handle such a case. When it's brought before, even the lawyers of the community know how to handle it once you cooperate with the institutions. But I think that initially Shatta got it wrong by his conduct, his attitude, the answer. Maybe the lawyer would have spoken to him that the crimes they are charging you or alleging that you have, well, they are serious crimes. And you must conduct yourself, or you must cooperate very well. That is how come that after his release, he also made this.
Yeah, he's become a lot more sober.
A lot more sober. And that would send good signals to the community, to the institution, to even the FBI and so on. But if you come and they make you look as if you cannot be touched, you're an icon and so on, I beg you. There are serious politicians in this country. We saw Kennedy Ajapo and with his mind. Sometimes you remember he was even sent to jail and he was weeping. We can name all of us, including myself. At any time, if I commit a crime, the law must work. The law is the law, and we must ensure that we uphold the same law we carved for ourselves. These are laws by the people of this country, and we must abide by them. If we don't, who will do? So for me, I think that the lessons have been learned from him and all other prospective property buying citizens must ensure, be they land, even houses, or whatever property that you would have worked so hard to get. Look, let me cite an example. How can Ghanaians go to the Ramsey site and build there? Very expensive buildings, my brother. And when they are being pulled down, even me, when you give it to me, I won't buy. If you give lands to me, I won't build. How come that? And you know those who do that? They are the rich people. They are the rich who build in such areas. And there are people who have gotten their money to whatever means, and you go and they give you a protected land. Then you clear and fill it and build there. When law enforcement comes after you, then you want who to tell you who should speak for you. So the crimes, they vary from acquisition of land to properties and so on. A lot is going down the drain, and people must be very careful. Look, if you go to a Ramsey site and see the type of buildings that are there, my brother, you know, I live at Sakomono, just by the place. So sometimes, one time I walked in, I just I looked at it. How can Ghanaians be so careless like that? And who gave them the building permits? That's what I was talking about, institutions. Who gave them the building permit? And is that Ramsey site not protected by law? Is it not an institution? Even if the traditional people sold them to you, how did you get a building permit to build and get to the roofing level, to live in it? Are the institutions helping us in fighting crime, or they are also collaborators of crime committing in this country?
Right.
So the institutions themselves must also re-examine themselves, and personnel who work there must assist property acquiring individual to do the right thing. Go back and do the right thing and get the proper documents covering whatever property that you are acquiring. Sometimes people use their entire life savings, including their pensions,
to purchase these items.
To purchase them
without due diligence.
Without due diligence, and it's pulled down, or you are dragged in the court for more than 30, 40 years. As at that time, you will not have life. Your total life is destroyed. people must be a little diligent to do a forensic examination of whatever. Contact people, let people do search for you. You pay a little, but they'll do the search for you. They can even put these cars on in the internet and put if this car, what do you call it? If someone's car is missing with this, you can even display it on the internet. You understand?
Yeah.
For people
so that you can get people to come through, whether or not
yes, my brother, we can do that. We can. The social media is everywhere.
People should use the internet to their advantage.
I want to buy this property from you, my brother. I'll advertise it on the net with all the chassis numbers and whatnot. If for some time no one claimed it, then you can go ahead.
You can go.
And then
Honorable.
The state institutions would also exonerate you when it comes to the time for them to do investigation.
I appreciate you joining us this morning. That's the Honorable Timothy Atabuade. He is a former member of Parliament for Busa North, joining us this morning for the big issues here on 3FM 92.7. A number of you have sent messages as well on some of the conversations we've been having. I just want to run through just some of them. This one from Samuel Tete Agbeto says that he and his president are very political. I suspect he was referring to Dr. David Tinkran when we had that earlier conversation with him. This one's from Jomu Pokwase Festus, says that I think the back and forth of this matter should be tailored to equipping hospitals and encouraging proper